In a development that has rocked the very foundations of the British royal family, King Charles III finds himself under intense and unprecedented pressure to take drastic action against his younger brother, Prince Andrew, the disgraced former Duke of York. Prominent royal commentators and experts are openly urging the monarch to confiscate Andrew's passport, describing the prince as an active flight risk who could vanish from the United Kingdom at a moment's notice. The catalyst for this extraordinary call comes from a fresh batch of documents and emails from the estate of the late Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted sex offender and financier, which were unsealed this week. These materials have reignited one of the most toxic scandals in modern royal history and cast serious doubt on virtually every public statement Prince Andrew has ever made about his relationship with Epstein and the allegations made against him. At the heart of the newly released correspondence is what appears to be a direct admission from Jeffrey Epstein himself that the notorious 2001 photograph showing Prince Andrew with his arm around the waist of then 17-year-old Virginia Giuffre, formerly Roberts, is completely authentic. For years, Andrew has either downplayed or outright denied the existence or significance of this image, most famously during his disastrous 2019 BBC Newsnight interview with Emily Maitlis, an interview widely regarded as one of the most ill-advised media appearances in royal history. In that now infamous conversation, the prince claimed he had no recollection of the photograph ever being taken and insisted he had no memory of ever meeting Ms. Giuffre at all. The newly public emails appear to demolish those assertions, strongly implying that Andrew was, at the very least, less than truthful when he sat beneath the studio lights and attempted to clear his name. The fallout from these revelations has been swift and unforgiving. Royal biographer and historian Andrew Loney, whose meticulously researched works on the York family have become essential reading for anyone following the saga, has described the latest document dump as the final nail in the coffin for Prince Andrew's credibility. Speaking to British media outlets, Loney has been unequivocal. The prince's denials no longer hold water. His association with Epstein was far deeper and more compromising than he has ever admitted, and significantly more damaging material is still expected to surface in the months ahead. But Loney has gone further than mere commentary. He has explicitly called for Andrew to be treated as a flight risk and for his passport to be surrendered immediately so that a proper, thorough investigation can take place without the threat of the prince absconding. Concerns that Andrew might attempt to leave Britain permanently are not based on idle gossip. Multiple well-placed sources report that the prince has been exploring permanent residency options abroad, with one particularly alarming possibility standing out: an alleged offer from members of the Abu Dhabi ruling family to provide Andrew with a luxurious, heavily secured villa on one of their private estates in the United Arab Emirates. The UAE, crucially, has no extradition treaty with the United States, meaning that once Andrew crossed its borders, he would effectively be beyond the reach of both British police and American federal investigators. The timing of these reports is impossible to ignore. They have intensified just as Andrew faces eviction from Royal Lodge, the sprawling 30-room mansion on the Windsor estate that has been his home for over 2 decades. Buckingham Palace has confirmed that the prince must vacate the property by the end of January 2026 and will be relocated to a far more modest residence on the King's private Sandringham estate in Norfolk, a move that represents not just a dramatic reduction in living standards but a very public humiliation for a man once eighth in line to the throne. The broader legal context makes the flight risk argument even more compelling. American lawmakers have formally requested that Prince Andrew appear before a congressional committee to answer questions under oath about what he knew of Jeffrey Epstein's criminal activities and the full extent of their friendship. To date, the prince's response to that request remains unclear. Legal analysts have warned that testifying in such a setting could be catastrophic for Andrew. Any answers that contradict either his previous public statements or the growing mountain of documentary evidence could expose him to perjury charges in the United States. It was precisely to avoid such courtroom scrutiny that Andrew agreed in February 2022 to settle Virginia Giuffre's civil lawsuit against him out of court for a reported £12 million, approximately $16 million at the time, while still refusing to admit any liability. Most observers interpreted that settlement as an admission that Andrew could not withstand the rigors of a public trial. King Charles, who has spent his first 3 years on the throne attempting to present a slimmed-down, modern, and scandal-free monarchy, now faces what many are calling the defining crisis of his reign. He has already taken a series of unprecedented steps to distance the crown from his brother, stripping him of his Her Royal Highness style in public use, removing all military affiliations and royal patronages, and effectively banishing him from any official role within the firm. Andrew's absence from the Buckingham Palace balcony during the coronation in May 2023 and his exclusion from the official coronation photographs spoke volumes. Yet many now argue that these measures, severe though they were, do not go nearly far enough while Andrew remains a free agent able to travel at will. The The debate over whether the king should intervene directly to seize his brother's passport has divided royal watchers and legal scholars. Those in favor of the move insist that the very survival of the monarchy's reputation in the 21st century depends on demonstrating, unequivocally, that no one, not even a prince of the blood, is above the law. Allowing Andrew to flee to a jurisdiction beyond extradition would be interpreted globally as the ultimate proof that royal privilege still trumps justice. On the other side, constitutional lawyers caution that such an action, taken without criminal charges actually being laid in the UK, could itself be challenged as an abuse of executive power and might spectacularly backfire, handing Andrew a public relations victory he desperately needs. Public opinion, as reflected across social media and in opinion polls, has hardened dramatically against the prince. The overwhelming sentiment is that his continued freedom, while Epstein's victims have had their lives destroyed, represents an intolerable double standard. The fact that he has never apologized in any meaningful way to those victims, and that his 2019 interview displayed what many saw as callous indifference to their suffering, continues to fuel anger years later. As King Charles weighs his options, the stakes could not be higher. Should he authorize or quietly facilitate the confiscation of Andrew's passport, he would be taking a step no British monarch has ever taken against a close family member in living memory. Should he refrain, and should Andrew subsequently disappear to the Gulf, the damage to the Crown's standing, particularly in the Commonwealth and among younger generations, could be irreversible. This is no longer merely a question of one man's reputation. It has become an existential test for an ancient institution attempting to prove it can adapt to an era that demands transparency and accountability above all else. The coming weeks will reveal whether King Charles is prepared to prioritize the monarchy's future over fraternal loyalty, or whether the House of Windsor will once again choose to close ranks around one of its own, regardless of the cost. The story of Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein has already spanned more than 2 decades, survived multiple investigations, and cost the royal family untold millions in legal settlements and lost goodwill. Yet with every new document release, it refuses to die. Instead, it grows only darker, more complex, and more dangerous for the institution that has spent centuries guarding its mystique. Whether the final chapter sees Andrew answering questions in Washington, living in luxurious exile in the desert, or facing British investigators on home soil, one thing is certain. The decisions made in the next few weeks will shape how history judges not only Prince Andrew, but King Charles III and the very future of the British monarchy itself.